All right. Welcome to the Censored Podcast.
Welcome, welcome,
We're going to be talking about COVID today and what
as
else,
well as everything.
as well as other things. Yep. So I just wanted to talk about COVID today because here in Australia, shit's sort of hitting the fan as far as sort of how Australians see it as being horrific, which is like 11 cases. So there was like 11 cases in Sydney, and that's just like world ending for these people. So Sydney's in total lockdown for 2 whole weeks. In the ACT, they're cracking down and asking people to wear masks in public. So there's like a 48-hour grace period. You don't have to wear a mask.
I
But
did
after that,
hear about your guys having stories of where cops have been brutally beating down people who have not been wearing masks.
there's cases like that. There was one case where this mother and her daughter were taking a drive in, I think, Queensland. They got pulled over and fined like $2,000 just for driving in the car.
Without
Being
a mask?
they were defying lockdown. They were supposed to just be indoors, basically.
Oh,
They
that's
wanted to
cool.
go for a drive. The cop stops them and then creates a point of contact and says, "Yeah, you're risking the lives of all Australians."
Sounds exactly like what happened in the UK as well, where cops were chasing down people who were just walking around outside. This happened really earlier on, but I don't know if it's still happening.
Yeah, rape gangs, fine. That's totally fine. But if you don't have a mask on, we're
But
gonna
what
beat you to
my
death.
co-host is saying. He's talking about, for those who don't know, the UK does have a problem with something called Muslim rape gangs, and it's where, mm,
I'm sure people know about this by now, right? There was like these grooming gangs
yes.
run by immigrants, and the police weren't um, basically doing anything about it because they were afraid of being quote unquote racist.
Now, I just want to clarify as well that the reason why the reason why you have to say immigrant is because of the fact that there was an interview done by Carl Benjamin, aka Sargon of Akkad. I don't remember which channel he has it on because now he has several channels. Some of them are dead, some of them are very much alive. But he interviewed one of the victims of said rape gang, and I believe what she said was that because of their religious texts, they needed essentially a scapegoat in the form of young women. And it just happens that in today's social political climate, it's very easy to pick on uh, people of lighter skin color, especially if you're darker skin color, because not my words, I quote Nick Cannon here, melanin has compassion. So it's not what, we think, me and my co-host, but it's what people out there in this big old world of ours thinks. But continue.
Yeah, so, well, the funny thing about all of this, the cracking down on masks in the ACT, is that during the main pandemic, like 6 months ago, right, when it was going full force, like honestly, time dilation has been pretty crazy with coronavirus. I don't even have like a probably accurate timeline for this crap, but when the shit was going down, nobody was really wearing masks here. It's kind of cool. Like, yeah, you would see like maybe like 15% of people wearing masks. Usually it correlated with like their, blue hair, um, being fat as fuck and having glasses. But the thing is, like right now, they're enforcing it pretty heavily. So I was like driving out this morning, just like people were heading to their places of work, and I would say it was like 50% of people wearing masks, right? And this is during a grace period where you don't really have to worry about it until about 48 hours after they mandated it. 50% of people wearing masks. That's probably going to go up to like 80 plus percent. I don't know. It depends how much the cops here enforce it, because they could easily just go balls out and start slapping fines around. I mean, you can like running a red light is about a $500 fine. Like I said, that girl and her that woman and her daughter, $2,000 fine for defining lockdown. I don't know what a mask fine would be like, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was north of $200. So I was wondering why suddenly does the ACT seem to care?
Hmm.
Apparently there's an election happening soon, and that's purely
Ah,
the reason why.
see,
They're
all these things end up being political in the end. I hate it.
It's completely political. The mask mandate here doesn't make any fucking sense at all. You have to wear your mask in public, any public place, and gyms. So, for example, a gym. If I go into a gym, I have to have a mask on. But as soon as I get inside the main gym area and I'm doing my workout, I can just take off my mask. So, when I'm sweating, breathing, touching all of the equipment, masks
Okay,
off,
absolutely.
totally
That
fine.
doesn't make sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it's gyms are COVID-free zones, much like gun-free zones. You just can't, COVID can't go in there, right? It just stops at the door.
Yeah,
It's pretty
force field.
ingenious. I don't know why Australia doesn't just make the whole state a COVID-free zone. Big signs
You
everywhere. That
see,
would work.
security guards now post COVID checkpoints, and what they do is they screen for COVID. They don't allow COVID to go in, so you have to leave it at the door.
Yeah. It's like taking off your jacket. You gotta check it.
Hmm.
But I mean, yeah, 50% of people wearing masks. I notice it seems to be a certain type of people wearing masks, from what I've
Sure.
seen. Um, like old people. All right. These sort of
For
like
old people, that's fair.
honestly, I don't have a problem with wearing masks. I think there's reasons to wear masks, and I'm gonna ask a question here in a bit that makes me think about wearing masks.
No,
Um,
I have a problem with it. I downright have a problem because I've been vaccinated. I don't need to wear a mask.
well,
And
here's what I would
screw the
say.
Delta variant, all right? I didn't get sick with COVID the first time. I don't plan to the second time. I'm not gonna do something idiotic like that one guy that you showed me that got his vaccination the very next day he died or something. Not because of the vaccination, but because he died of COVID. All right, that tells me he went somewhere and participated in some kind of COVID orgy or something. Because I know what I've done to stay safe from COVID, and it's very simple. I didn't go around freaking kissing strangers. You know, I usually social distance. It's just a safe idea. You don't want to get sick from people, and it's very hard to from a distance unless you're immunocompromised. And again, you know if you're immunocompromised. I don't have to tell you. You know.
Yeah, that's why. Well, that's why I would never be the kind of person who, either way I end up, like if I'm pro mask or anti mask, I'd never be the person who walks up to somebody and says, "You need to take. Why are you wearing a mask?" Right? Or why aren't you wearing a mask? It's because it's personal choice. If someone's
Exactly.
immunocompromised, it's like whatever. If you're a,
Yes. Let people do what they want to do.
if you're old, wear a mask. If you're a fat fucking pig, wear a mask because you're that's a comorbidity. That's a big problem. If you're a twink little soy guy, wear a mask. Um, so yeah, all sorts of
Look
colorful
at
types of people should be wearing masks. Um,
it.
yeah, they deserve to wear the cuck muscle. But
But yeah, I agree with you. It's a personal choice. We don't really have any problem with people mask, but I think we both agree that it's gotten out of hand when something that should be as taken as politely opening a door. That's how I view the mask thing. Like, it's politeness at this point. When it's just a courtesy, you can't expect it because you can't expect people to be polite. I see that all the time. I wish some people would be polite. They're not. They may claim they are, but they're not.
for me, it's just I draw the line at to whether or not the government's mandating it. If the government is
Well,
forcing you to wear it, that's where I have the problem.
yeah. Because it's just people doing exactly what we were just talking about. the government is just made up people, and those people are going around telling other people, "Oh, you better put on a mask, otherwise we're gonna take money from you." I don't like that. I don't like being forced into anything. That's exactly why we view the whole situation with individuals with poor starts to life, like they start out homeless or they start out in a bad home. That's exactly why we view that because they don't have a choice. And when you take away someone's choice, and I know what the people are gonna say about my body, my choice, yada yada yada. And we can segue into that later as well. You know what? I'll make that my fourth topic. Do you
But
have anything? Though?
yeah, so what I wanted to go into is this lab leak, quote unquote, theory, right? We have to say theory. There's no doubt in my mind that it was manufactured by the
It's not
Chinese
theory.
with the help of the
Hold
US
on, hold on,
government.
hold on. No, no, no. You stop right there. It's not theory. It's confirmed.
It's confirmed.
Someone went on Stephen Colbert's show or
It
one
was
of
Jon
those late night
Stewart, right?
shows.
That's what you're talking
Yes,
about?
yes. It was
His
him.
rant? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Of course, he made a whole lot of sense.
And do you know what Stephen Colbert said at the very end? Do you know
Uh,
what he said?
he said, "Give me some Chinese cock to suck, please. Sucky, sucky, long time."
That's what he said after the show. I heard John Cena came on recently, so I guess
John
they both
China.
had something. But no, no, he said at the very end of the show, right before it cut off, well, shit, I guess we gotta believe this now.
Did he really say that?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I didn't watch that video. I mean, hey, if it's confirmed, I'm sure the people are still calling it a theory, though. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? You should pick the conclusion that requires the least amount of leaps, and let's look at the facts that the bats were in hibernation at the time. There was no bats or pangolins at the wet
You
market. That's
are better.
confirmed.
You are better at this point just pulling up Stewart's roast to Colbert at this point.
Mm.
Because he goes over every point you're saying and more.
Oh yeah, and the main thing is like, hey, there was an outbreak in Wuhan. Maybe we should check the lab that was doing gain of function research right next to where the outbreaks were happening. That's like,
But you don't understand. It wasn't called the Wuhan Laboratory of COVID. It was called the Wuhan Laboratory of Infectious Diseases of COVID variety. I know that's not the exact same thing, but it was essentially that. Um, and it was the most stupidest reason either. It was like that was the general laboratory and the specific area that COVID probably came from was some kind of lab specific to that COVID.
yeah. And so what I was saying is there's no doubt in my mind that this virus was created by the Chinese with the help of the US government. They were funding this for gain of function, and whether it got released on purpose or on accident is yet to be, you know, seen. I'm not sure about that. Cough, cough. But it seems pretty fucking advantageous for people who want the destruction of Western society. Um, but I was thinking this made me think like thinking all of this stuff, the fact that it could be man-made, a bioweapon essentially. Does this does that make you more fearful of COVID, for example? So I'm like kind of personally like don't like wearing masks at all. But I was thinking like, do I really want to? Should I take every precaution logically available to me to avoid getting infected by some dirty fucking CCP virus that could um like potentially fuck me up. I've gone sort of all over the place on this on whether like I've even entertained the idea that the coronavirus as a whole was a fake, sort of as a joke. I used to like saying to people um, that how can you get infected by a virus that doesn't exist? I used to say that just because that was like the ultimate way to piss people off at the time.
I remember, yeah.
Well,
Personally, I disagree with what you said, and personally, I believe like during that time. I remember you told me that. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. Personally, I took it very seriously, but I didn't hold it against you because I'm like, I personally have asthma. I have, lung issues, and having a lung disease on top of lung disease does not sound like a swell time. Does not sound like a fiesta.
Mm.
But I've heard of what you're saying as well, and I've seen, I believe, tweets comparing this COVID outbreak to experiments done from Japanese Unit 731. First, I'd like to say, for people who think that, first of all, it's Japanese. I think that's a big issue.
Yeah, it's called Kung Flu for a reason, people.
God. The second is that I don't know. I just don't believe the whole collusion thing. I genuinely believe it's a CCP thing, the Chinese government thing. And the
What about
reason
the
why I
fact that
believe this is
we know Fauci was giving them money, right? The Democratic Party was giving them money essentially.
in what form? What do you mean? But before you
I'd have
say
to.
that,
Well, no, it's a fact that Fauci was giving them money. We know that. There's no dispute there. I'd have to look into it to see, but
okay, let me
I'm
just
pretty sure
clarify.
Bill Gates and the
Hold on,
Democratic
hold on.
Party was giving them money.
Stop this. I don't care about your 4chan connections. I really don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna give everyone good and easy way for your theory right now. China, CCP, the WHO. Just think of how the WHO just didn't acknowledge Taiwan, I believe,
Yep.
whatsoever.
Yep. So the WHO is owned by
Remember that?
Chinese because of the interview. A reporter asked the
No,
Chi-
okay, 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 okay. Let me clarify. At the very least, that gives theory to connections between the WHO and the
let
CCP.
me say something real quick. Okay.
Okay,
We
fine,
know
fine, fine.
that China's giving WHO money, right? And
Okay.
China, I will say, is not even the biggest contributor to the WHO. To WHO. The US is the biggest contributor. But here's the thing. If the US is the biggest contributor to the WHO, but the WHO is acting as if they're owned by China, then what sort of under the table dealings are going on, right? I just want to put that out there that there's probably money flowing freely underneath the table that you don't see. Maybe this specific official, only he was bribed, but something's going on nefarious. Something nefarious is happening.
Okay, I still disagree with the fact that there is collusion with the US, even if there is the current administration, simply because uh, I don't believe it's in something as direct as my co-host is saying. I believe it's something indirect, something that's been there for a while, and it's just coming into use now. Those connections at the WHO and at the CCP were there in the beginning. It just happened that it was very convenient for them to use them at COVID times. I did listen to what you said, but I'm blanking. There was something that you made a very good point on, and that was what I wanted to tackle. Remind me the very last thing that you said about
There's something
CCP.
I believe that there's money under the table, and I think something nefarious is going on. It seems like the WHO is owned by the
Yeah,
Chinese.
yeah, that's what I want to tackle. John, who cares? That happens all the time. These are shadows we don't know about, and these shadows have been around for a while. So to say, oh yeah, something nefarious and bad is going on, yeah, sure, sure, but that happens all the time, and the only way to like really see it is if it comes out. Examples I can think of are like, uh,
Shining the light on it, which is what we're doing right now.
exactly, exactly. But I just want to state that at the very least, we shouldn't state intentions for now until at the very least we see them. I do like the fact that you pointed out this. I I want to call it theory, but I want to call this line of thinking more because you've linked the fact, you've opened people's mind to the fact that at the very least the CCP and the WHO have connections with each other, and if I was having a pie baking contest, I would not make the WHO the judge. while at the same time making the CPP contestants. I know that's a cringy example, but you get the idea. It's very clear.
Yeah, I get your point. Yeah, that's
Is
fair.
there any additional point you want to go over, or should we segue?
Well, I want to know your thinking on that. You're coming at COVID from a pretty interesting like position because you've got asthma, you have another comorbidity which is smoking. That's another comorbidity, right? Um, you've got the double whammy.
Let's not beat around the bush. Let's not hide the elephant anymore. I'm also a bit obese.
Yeah.
COVID did not help. The lockdowns did not help.
So you got the triple whammy. COVID. Yeah, COVID
Like
fucked
I'm
me
not
over
obese
so hard
obese,
as
but
far as the gym goes.
I can stand to like you lose 20 pounds.
Hmm. Um, so you got the triple whammy. Um,
Yeah,
how seriously do you take it? Cause
I
for
I, I would I quote Tom McDonald here. I wish I was black because then I could have a quadruple.
yeah. But at
I
that
need
point, does it
another.
cancel it out? That's so many comorbidities. It's just you become invincible.
I don't think it works like negative times negative is positive. I don't think follows that in line of thinking.
We can only hope.
My thoughts on the matter are essentially I don't care. If it happens, it happens. I'm taking steps to ensure what I believe to be the right steps. That's personal story with my doctor. If I really do become worried about it, I'm sure I'd, take the proper steps, maybe quit smoking, talk to a doctor about specific procedures for me. Um, as I said, I've already taken the vaccine and I never really got COVID in the first place. So keep in mind, I'm just crossing my fingers at this point and hoping that the vaccine will help. Nothing's really changed.
What vax
You
did you
could,
get?
the Pfizer, I believe.
Pfizer. Which one is that? Is that the Pfizer? I think is AstraZeneca the clotting one?
I don't remember, dude. I was just worried at the time because I was sick,
Hmm.
and I heard that sometimes that the second shot can also make you sick. So I was like, "Oh, am I gonna go through a double whammy here?" Thankfully, nothing happened. But I will say that the vaccine does hit everyone different. I don't know why. All right, I'm not a medical expert, but I have seen this happen, and to not acknowledge that is to not acknowledge the pain people went through in this. Some people I know have gone through like fever chills, essentially becoming sick without actually becoming sick. Some people just get really sore arms. Me personally, I didn't really feel anything, which I was thankful for.
Probably because you were
But my
high.
main point being that nothing's really changed for me, and that's important because they say that there's a new Delta variety out. So I'm gonna give the regressives the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say to them, okay, maybe it is still dangerous. Who cares? That means nothing has changed, and I want to live my life. I don't want to live in fear anymore. I lived my life with asthma, fearing common allergies because I'm allergic to everything. It's a lot better control now, but I remember I had a very serious incident back in 2015 where, um, personal story of mine, I had a very serious asthma attack due to allergic reaction, and they had to induce a coma in order to take control of my organs again to stop them from seizing. After that, people might not believe me in this, and maybe this is too personal, but I died. Like my lungs and heart did not move anymore. They were too swollen to move. So I lived in fear of dying every year after that until it was under control. So now, I've felt what it's like to be in fear of disease. I don't like it. It's not fun. You don't get to live your life. I get to live my life right now, and I can also live it accounting for COVID as well. Like I can make certain procedures that don't affect my life, but do affect my health.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely. I think I don't know if it's it's probably not like necessarily not bravery, but you're like better adjusted to just life than I think a lot of these
No,
people that you hear about, huh?
I'd like to correct you there. I would like to think it's brave. Do you know why?
What?
Because despite the fact that I have more to lose than everyone else, despite the fact that if I get COVID, despite my young age, my comorbidity will end up giving me a disadvantage. Um, I still live my life because, like I said before, I lived what it's like not living your life because of health conditions, and it's not fun.
Hmm.
Why would you want to protect a life that's not worth living? I never got that. Why do they always say um, conservatives don't care about fetuses after they're born when all I'm saying right now is you should protect lives that are good, that are fun, that are worth living?
You shouldn't have brought up abortion. Now I'm fucking triggered.
Going to be in my fourth topic. It's fine.
Oh, okay, because I got something to say about. I'll say closing remark for this topic. For me, knowing that it's man-made and the prospect of thinking about what if this man-made virus, we're actually just at the precipice of this Pandora's box where it really does mutate into this spooky Delta variant and it truly does cycle over and over, killing hundreds of thousands, millions a year. Maybe it won't become this uh, human race ending virus, but the fact that it was man made, gain of
It'll
function
become
research,
upon mankind, essentially,
yeah,
is what you're
because
saying.
gain of function research has no actual point besides bioweapon, despite what people will tell you, oh, we're going to create a vaccine for something that could not possibly mutate this way because lab functions can never perfectly replicate these natural phenomena, right? A bunch of bullshit. So that I've been like grappling with if this is some CCP fucking nightmare virus, how careful do I really need to be? Right? Because I logically don't have problems with taking steps to protect yourself, but it's like, where um, do I just keep living? You know, do I not even care, or should I take some precautions? Should I go the way of masking up, or masks don't really do anything, but N95s or something, or stop contact with people? It's just something
That's
I've
an
been mulling over.
interesting scenario for a lifestyle choice. I feel like the answer to that would be you do you what you want to do, as well as in reference to the CCP doing this biological experiment crap. I will say at the very least, Unit 731 has one thing in common with this whole scenario: people doing shitty things to other people for shitty ass reasons, and that's been happening since the dawn of mankind. Is it gonna stop because we have iPhones now? I don't think so.
Boom.